Okay, here's how to make a great paella, whatever you want to call it. You can use one of these big pans with one of these burners, but a saucepan like that is absolutely fine. So what I do, I cheat slightly because I try to save gas on the gas burner there. You just dice up your red peppers, yellow peppers, usually one or two is fine, a couple of big onions, and I always put a good piece of chorizo chopped up very finely in there as well. And that's it. You can add a stock cube, vegetable stock cube, a fish stock cube is good. And then a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, a little bit of herb seasoning is absolutely fine. Reduce that all down till it's almost a sludge. That's going to be your main juice, and that's what gives it that beautiful colour and that beautiful texture as well. So here it is bubbling away. I've just added the salt and the mixed herbs, like something like the Italian herb seasoning is good. And I hope I mentioned tomatoes. Usually 2 tomatoes finely chopped up per person is absolutely fine. I then also toast a little bit of saffron, which I usually put on a piece of foil, stick on the top of the toaster until it warms up, fold the foil over, give it a crush with the back of a spoon, and then drop that in there as well. Or you can put it into the stock. We're going to need to make about 2 pints of stock out of a fish stock cube. If you've got chicken stock is fine, or vegetable stock cube, but I tend not to use too many of those because they don't really add anything nice to it, and it's all salt and chemicals, isn't it? Okay. Now, often I get a little impatient and start to mash it up with a masher just to give it that last bit, otherwise you're standing here for 15-20 minutes, which you don't need to be. So I'm going to give it a bit of a mash down to a nice sludge. This is my little stash of saffron, and I just put a little piece of that from here, put it on here, just spread it out, rolling a big nasty cigarette, and just put the toaster on. That'll toast in about a minute, and then I wrap it up and crush it with a spoon. So our sludge, nice and sludgy and reduced down now. I can just go on the side till I set up the burner over here. So here's my big jug, my stock cube and saffron in, and I'm going to pour hot water on, which you don't need to see. I've set up the gas bottle on the burner, and we're going to heat that up with some nice olive oil in there, and then we're going to tip that in. Some peas, got some haddock and some prawns. You can cook them from frozen if they're thin enough, that they'll cook pretty nicely, but just make sure they're under the surface and use plenty of heat. That way they won't go all dried out either. So there's a jug full of water. If you have trouble pouring water, go to howtopourwater.com. There's a lot of videos online to show you how to do that. But otherwise, that's what I use, about 2 pints nearly, I would say. I'm using, I hate to advertise, but it's quite good, the Asda Paella rice. Usually one of those will do 4 people with a bit left over for the next day. Okay, and you don't want to make it too thick, because if it goes too thick, as in too deep with the rice, I don't know, it just sort of loses something. It needs to be burnt on the bottom and crispy on the top. So she's fired up. Quite a bit of olive oil in there. And I'm just going to tip that in a second and put the rice on. So I tend to just chop the fish up into fairly, biggish cubes, otherwise it just tends to disappear. So we're going to add that into the paella, which has got some peas on top. You can put as many of those in as you like. They're quite nice, and they tend to just sort of sit there and give a bit of colour diversity. So I've just sort of spread it out a little bit, and I put the rice on top. Excuse my family sounds in the background. This is a working kitchen. So just sprinkle it on. I'm going to mix it all up together anyway, but I tend to mix it up dry. It tends to be just a little easier than add the stock. Now I just add my stock. Sort of spread it out there. And I'm going to give it a good stir, because there's a little nice bit of sludge in the bottom. I almost forgot to put the chicken in. So I just cut the drumsticks down to pieces like that. Don't put any smaller because they'll just disappear, and they go into the mix as well. Before people start saying, why are you putting chicken in with the seafood? paella. I've had rabbit in with seafood before in Spain. I've had all sorts mixed in there. Probably a few other things as well, but you can mix it, it's nice. Chicken tastes like fish anyway. So I tend to whack it up full heat till it's all nice and sizzling, and then I'll turn it through a third of a turn, just because the bars, which you can see, that little sort of triangular cross type thing in there, it just tends to take a little while to heat the other bit, so I'll turn it through to heat the rest of the cold areas. And once it's bubbling, it really goes. This is the stage I like. Well, it's all bubbling nice and evenly, so it's been going about 6-7 minutes, and I'm just going to reduce the heat just a little bit, just so that I save a bit of gas, because this always runs out just as I'm halfway through a paella. One thing I like to do now is, just as it's getting near the end, is just put a little sprinkling of salt over the top, because you find the rice just sucks all of the salt straight out, so you don't get a lot of flavour. So I don't tend to put a lot in there to start with, just put it all in at the end. It gives that nice little crispy coating. What we're trying to do is we're trying to burn the bottom a little bit, and the top's going to be the rice is going to be a little bit crunchy, and the middle is going to be soft and perfect. Okay, it's getting very close now. I picked a little hole, it's starting to stick on the bottom, and just taste the rice just to see if it's crunchy or still just a little floury when you bite it, so I'm going to give it another minute. You can add it if you find you're running out of water and it's still not cooking. You can just carefully add another little circles of water in there, boiling water, and that'll just give you a little bit more, but don't overdo it because the rice will go to mush on you very quickly. The only other ingredient I have, but I don't put it in, is just a small piece of this very nice little cactus that stops me getting burned. I just rub it on my skin because I touch the handle here. So aloe vera saves the day, or aloe. This is what you're looking for. Burned, but not carbon, just caramelized on the bottom, and a little crunchy on the top. You can see a little piece of white rice, just sort of vaguely going soft. That's great. That gives a nice texture, and you don't want the peas to go all soggy either. And that's it.